Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our New York Islanders franchise mode here in NHL 25. So in last episode, if you did not catch it, we had the draft and re-sign stage, and it was a very good draft for us. Probably one of the best drafts I've had in a franchise mode. We managed to pick up a lot of good prospects, which puts ourselves in a little bit of a predicament, especially with the defensive core. As you can see now, because we decided to draft ourselves this Holmstrom guy, who's an 80 overall out of the draft. That's a top 4 potential, which is fantastic. We also drafted Haken, who's a 78 overall at 17, and he's also a top 4 defensive prospect. And then we also have, if we go to in the system, we drafted guys like, I think it was Erzberg, 62 at 20, but he does have medium elite potential, so this guy could be intriguing. We have a slow 4, who's a 63 at 18, so there's some pretty damn solid prospects that we got in this draft class. Also, this Lindsay dude, that's a low elite, so I think our defensive core of the future is pretty damn solid, so very happy with that draft. We also drafted a 70 overall high AHL starter, which is kind of intriguing, so some decent prospects for our prospect pool, and hopefully, obviously, a lot of them to develop into being good players. But I think this year our team is going to look pretty solid again this upcoming season. I'm just worried a bit about the defensive core because obviously we decided to trade away Boyd in last episode to basically free up roster space to get Osgood in this upcoming season. But now there could be a chance that we trade away guys like Osgood or something like that because we do have way too many defenders on this team. So I'm a little bit worried about the fact that there's a logjam. I'm probably not going to make any trades with this defensive core till I actually sim up to the start of the season, just so I could kind of see who's what overall and all that. But yeah, we just have a huge logjam there. In terms of forwards and stuff like that, we aren't going to need to sign anything in terms of free agency, I don't think, so we probably won't bring anything into this team. We'll let guys like Ellington potentially be a depth forward for us this season. We might still have to trade away Nielakainen. There is a chance that he might lose morale due to ice time, so I might have to rework the bottom 6 a bit before the season starts as well. But I think we'll obviously keep the forward core, the defensive core the same for the beginning of this offseason. But the one thing we do need to bring in is a new backup goaltender. So that's going to be one thing we'd look into because we decided to let go of Hainsey so he could go sign somebody else. We also let go of Eriksson, who was our second line / third line center. So a little bit maybe of a weakness down the middle, but I think we should be still a strong enough team, and I think it's going to be a pretty good year ahead as long as that defensive core, that's a bit of a work in progress, simulates just as good as it did last year despite losing Boyd. But anyways, with that said, let's get in your guys' comments, see what you guys have to say about last episode, and then we will sign ourselves up a goaltender, and probably after that we'll simulate up to the start of the season and get our lineup set up. We'll see who's on the outs looking in, and if it makes sense, maybe we will trade them. If it doesn't make sense, maybe they'll play in the minors for a season or so before they'll be in the NHL. So the first two and only comments are from Garage TV. The first one says really good quality picks, and yeah, I'd say it was probably one of our best draft classes, like I said, that we've ever had in a franchise mode, because aside from like those defensemen, we also drafted some other solid prospects, like for instance Nielsen, who's a medium top 6 forward. He's apparently supposed to be a gem. We drafted Popov, who is a low elite forward, so we even drafted some pretty good forwards to go along with a lot of the defenders that we drafted in that class. And as I said, also I forgot to mention, we drafted also this high elite goaltender too in Nicholas, so we might have the replacement for Solovyov already down the road. So a lot of solid prospects from that draft, and just hope that a lot of them develop. Like I said, Erzberg's kind of an interesting one just because he's got elite potential. He is a low overall to start at 20, but I think he could obviously generate enough growth that he should be a defenseman for us within a few seasons. Now, he could push some of these other guys out, or maybe we decide to trade him instead because he's a lot older, but obviously it's going to be interesting when we come to that. And lastly, Garage also says, for defense, I would do the following: Houghton, Tatar, Schaefer, Holmstrom, Haken, Osgood, Depth, Novoseltsev, Albrecht in AHL, Albrecht and Rudder in the AHL, basically, is what he means. But I don't know if I fully agree with those defensive pairings, because you forgot to mention... Oh, no, you actually did edit your comment, I think. You did add Holmstrom to it, so... basically, you would say to have Novoseltsev be a depth defenseman. I don't think Novoseltsev really makes sense as a depth defenseman. That's the one thing I have issues with it on your comment. The reason why I would use Rudder as a depth defenseman instead is Rudder doesn't have a high ceiling. He's already listed as a depth defenseman. He is an enforcer defenseman too, so he's definitely not going to grow higher than a 77, I think. But Novoseltsev is a low elite 77 overall. Like, he should probably be on a blue line next season, or he should be in the AHL. So we'll see what overall he is to start next season. If he's way too high, I might have to think about potentially moving on from somebody else. Or I just let him play in the AHL regardless for 1 year, and then we can make enough for another decision next offseason. Albrecht being in the AHL probably could make some sense, but he also is a top 6 defenseman, so Albrecht is probably one of these guys that are probably on the chopping block to start the season just because of his age and his overall. We'll see what overall he is to start next season as well when we get to that point, but I think the ideal situation for a lineup is like what you were saying, Houghton and Tatar, Schaefer, Holmstrom, Osgood, and probably either Haken or Novoselicev. I might honestly give Haken a chance to play in the AHL next season instead, so that way we could play Novoselicev, just because Haken's only 17. We don't need to rush his development, so maybe Novoselicev gets on that top 6 pairing, and then Rudder could be the depth defenseman because he doesn't have a huge ceiling. So I think our defensive core is pretty much set in stone for next year already, which is good. But the one thing we do need, like I said, is a new backup goaltender, which we already kind of know who we want to go for a backup. I kind of alluded to that in last episode, because there is a goaltender that looks like he was a pretty good backup goaltender in Vancouver, that being in Zubov. He's an 81 at 26, listed as a low starter. He does want a 2-year deal at 2.2. I might be able to get him on a 1-year deal, but you can see his stats last year. Actually, wasn't on Vancouver, was in Winnipeg. He went to 18, 12, and 2, so not the craziest record, but 35 games played. He had a .914 save percentage and a 2.8 goals against. Meanwhile, in the playoffs, he played 7 games for them and went 5-1 with a .928 save percentage. So I think this guy could be a pretty solid backup to have behind Solovyov for a year or two, while we wait, obviously, for other goalie prospects to develop. So I think he's definitely what I'm going to be looking at bringing in. And yeah, he's just a young goalie that doesn't have a lot of experience either, but he was good last year in a good team. And we're a good team enough that I think he should simulate good with us too. So let's do the 2-year deal. And he does have a lot of organizational interest in us, which also helps things quite a bit. I can't really lower this by too much, or else he probably won't sign with us. So I'll probably do a deal at 2. Maybe I could actually lower this by 2 bars. I don't want to lower it too much. Okay, yeah, we'll do like 1975 for 2 years and see if he'll accept that. I don't think he'll sign with another team because of the fact that this Islanders team technically could easily win another Stanley Cup this coming season, or I should say an actual Stanley Cup this season. Obviously, we've never won a cup yet in this series, but we've come close multiple times, so I think he definitely wants to be a part of the solution to us winning the Stanley Cup. So let's bring him in on a 2-year deal, and he'll get back to us in a few days, so he is expecting some other offers, so maybe I should have went a little bit higher on the money. Can I withdraw my offer? I can't. I probably should have just gave him exactly what he was asking for to guarantee him. If I can't get him, which I'm hoping obviously he decides to choose us over him, over some other teams, we could always go for somebody else like Sven Franzen, who was in Chicago or something like that. Like, I'm not too sure exactly, but there is other goalie options that are backups, so it's not a huge issue. Hainsey obviously was the guy that was just our backup goalie last season. I decided to give him a chance in free agency just because he's already listed as a starter, so might as well give him a chance to go play somewhere else, so that's why I let go of him. But I think that's going to be our only signing we make, unless we need some depth forwards, which I don't think we do. Let's double check here again on our forward core side of things. So we do also still have in the RFA department Leahy at the moment. He's the only RFA that's holding out, I think, at the moment. So we'd have basically 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 with Ellington, 10, 11, 12 with Coral Uke. Maybe our bottom 6 could use a little bit more, but I think there could be guys like Regnerson who sneakily make it into our lineup. So I don't think I'm going to sign any forwards, but if I need to have any forwards at the start of the season, we could trade some of the defenders that I don't need for forwards at the start of the season. Like I said, we'll probably wait till the start of the season just to make those decisions because they aren't as important right now. So I think I'll leave it like that. Let's see if we end up getting that backup goaltender in as our backup, because if he is going to join our team, that would be really nice. Like I said, he had some pretty good stats, and I think he could do well here, considering our team's pretty damn good too, usually during the regular season. So Let's advance a few days here. Actually, do I want to take a look at the top coaches again? I know I already address the coaches last episode? I didn't. We do need an associate coach, so let's actually find ourselves. Oh no, I did offer a contract. I forgot about that. It was to Graves in the last episode. So we should be getting a coach potentially accepting our contract too, which hopefully that guy could help us out a little bit too. And then that way maybe we're a better playoff simulating team. Oh, Graves decided to go to Winnipeg. Damn. Friggin' Winnipeg. Hopefully they didn't steal. Oh, Toronto stole the goaltender. Well, that kind of sucks. I maybe should have just gave him what he was wanting. So Toronto, literally the team that beat us in the conference finals, just swooped that goaltender from us too. So that was the first time I think I've lost two things in the same beginning of free agency. That's not great. All right, so Hainsey's already left, so we're down to only a few goalie options as a backup. So let's take a look at these guys a little bit more in depth. I probably should have offered just Zubov more money, but I didn't. So Raimo Pentikainen was in the AHL last year, but the year before he was in the NHL and was actually pretty good. Year before that, he was in San Jose, which we know that San Jose hasn't been. Was it in this series? I don't know if it was this series. San Jose's not been super good, I don't think. Yeah, San Jose wasn't even in the playoffs that year, but he had a .917 save percentage. Year before, 902. Looks like some pretty solid stats, even like, actually not when he was with Washington, but with San Jose and Minnesota, he was pretty good. No NHL playoff experience. Pentikainen could be interesting. He honestly could be, but let's take a look at some of the other goalies just in case. Let's actually just keep it on that screen so I can go with this. Sven Franzen doesn't also have a lot of experience, has a pretty bad career save percentage. Also played with the Sharks too, which is kind of funny. But yeah, not the best in terms of goaltending results. 900 save percentage for Tate McGinnis. Looks like a pretty good AHL goalie, but not necessarily in the NHL. Suglobov never played in the NHL at this point. Actually, he played NHL playoff games, but never played in the regular season. That's actually kind of insane. I don't think I've seen a goaltender like that. His playoff numbers are pretty bad, but AHL regular season looks pretty good. Preseason numbers in the NHL, kind of a mixed bag. And I don't know about him. J.C. Hatcher. What a name. J.C. Hatcher. Let's take a look. He did play some games in the NHL for the LA Kings. 905, a 926 through 3 games. A 901. Also played for the Flyers way back. In the playoffs, he's not... Oh, he's played some NHL playoff games. Actually, a 929 last year in 2037. Damn. Those numbers from 2037 in the playoffs kind of intrigue me quite a bit. Even though he had like an 800 save percentage in the one before that where he allowed 3 goals on 15 shots, the stats from 2037 are really nice. And then also in the playoffs in the AHL were pretty good last season. So J.C. Hatcher might be my favorite here. Yeah, I think we're going to offer J.C. Hatcher the backup job. He's not the most insane goaltender in the world, but he might be a decent player. So let's just give him the $900K that he wants. It might be just a nice cheap little bargain deal. Maybe we could upgrade the backup goaltending spot at any point in the season, but we did need to find ourselves a backup, so we'll just give him that. Aside from that, we do still need to try and find ourselves an associate coach because that guy decided to become a head coach probably with Winnipeg. So let's see if there's any other options as an associate coach. That kind of sucks because that coach was a nice fit, I think, for us, if I remember right. Let's see. Anybody with a really high 59 in Ryder Nash. And he is listed as an associate coach. Okay, Ryder Nash is the guy. He is the guy. That's his exact role as an associate. We'll bring him in. And yeah, he could develop with this team. Obviously, he's only got a B overall. But I think he could definitely grow into being a good coach. We do still need a goalie coach, too, for that matter. So let's find one of those as well while we're at it. Because I don't want to forget about that. Let's go teaching grade. There's a goalie one. Perfect. Roman Hansal. Okay, you'll be our NHL goalie coach. So yeah, hopefully some new coaches on this team will help things in terms of the playoff simulation a bit, because the playoff simulation has been a little bit all over the place for this team. This team just hasn't been able to get that Stanley Cup win yet, and we definitely need to find a way to do that soon, because or else we're going to eventually start having to move out some players like Anton Ferndale, for instance. So with that said, let's advance one more day, or a couple more days, and see if we get those acquisitions in. Ryder Nash is on board. He wants to thank us for the generous financial compensation. No problem. And Hansel as the goalie coach, he does not like the market. That's kind of weird. I thought I gave him more money. Let's retry this again with him because he shouldn't be getting contracts from any other team really anyways. And we definitely need a goalie coach, especially in the NHL. The AHL, to me, the goalie coaches don't matter that much, but definitely want one for the NHL. So let's try and get Hansel again here. He does have interest from Laval, apparently, of the AHL, but we're literally giving him an NHL job. Didn't I give him $440,000 last time? I thought I went max on this, and he didn't accept. He didn't like our market, which is kind of dumb because we're technically in New York, right? Obviously, we're not in New York City, but we're like outside of New York City technically. But he should be accepting because we do have probably one of the bigger markets out there. Come on, Hansel. There you go. Thank you. If he would have rejected and went to an AHL team, I would have felt personally attacked. Let's get rid of people off our block because we don't want these guys getting dealt. I honestly don't even want any offers thrown at me right now too, so I just want to kind of see what our team is. And then, like I said, we're going to have probably way too many defenders. Probably Albrecht could get moved potentially before the season starts and all that. Like, we still have work to do before we edit our lines and also simulate some of the seasons, so I don't know how much of the season we're going to simulate in this episode because of the trades, but I guess it depends on how long the trades take and all that. But I likely would trade players for, like, maybe upgrades on the forward group if our bottom six looks a little bit weak, something like that. Because we probably could get some decent stuff for some of the defenders that we have on this team that aren't going to make it. But let's begin the sim up to next season and see what we're working with. Hopefully our offensive core isn't too barren on that bottom six, and then hopefully our defensive core is pretty good. I'm kind of intrigued by our defensive core just because, obviously, like I said, we dealt away Boyd. Obviously, we need to sign Leahy still, so let's get Leahy signed up here because I almost forgot about him. But yeah, we'll get Leahy signed up. He's the only RFA at the moment, I believe. Yep, he is. So let's just get him signed up here. He is a UFA at the end of the 1 year, which kind of sucks, but I probably will sign him afterwards, maybe long-term, depending on how good he is this upcoming season. He is going to get a big shot this year, though, technically, too, with the loss of Eriksson, which we'll obviously take a look at where those guys signed to, if I remember. So, hopefully I remember to do so. All right. Should be getting close to the start of the season. Let me just drink some water for a second here. All right, so we are at the start of the season. Let's get our lineup set up and see who's on the outside looking in potentially on this roster here. Go roster moves. Let's go goalies to start off with. So Solovyov and Hakcher, obviously that's the goalie tandem we want. AHL, it's going to be Scholes and Vishnevsky. Lannon will be scratched. But yeah, that way we have Scholes and Lannon, who are not Lannon and Vishnevsky, who have some potential. They are both two very young goaltenders, so I don't really know what they're going to do, but I think they're good enough for the AHL. So there's that. And then from a defensive standpoint, let's see what we got in the NHL. So Houghton is a 91. Of course, he's on our blue line. Tatar is an 88. Schaefer's an 84. Novoseltsev jumped to an 83. So there's no reason why Novoseltsev will be a depth defenseman for his team, for sure. Osgood's also listed as a top 4 already, which is kind of not ideal because he's not going to be getting top 4 ice time. We do have Albrecht listed as a top 6. Holmstrom listed as a top 6. Haken is a top 6 too. But like I said, I might be okay with giving Haken AHL time because he is very young. Yeah, I think I'm going to send Haken down for sure. I think Haken needs playing time in the AHL. Even though he is listed as a top 6, I think it's okay to give him some playing time down there. Aside from that, though, that's still 8 defensemen. 2, 4, 6, 8. Yeah, that is. Rudder is okay as a depth defenseman, for sure, being an enforcer. Holmstrom needs to be playing on that top 6. I think the guy on the outside looking in is going to be Osgood, not Albrecht. Albrecht should be fine to play with Holmstrom on that top 6, considering our list as top 6. Osgood being listed as a top 4 and having the same overall as Holmstrom is where I'm drawing that line. So Osgood is going to get dealt here to start off this season, which means I'm going to just send him to the AHL for the time being. So this would be our defensive coordinate, basically, is Tatar, Schaefer, or not Tatar, Schaefer, what I'm saying, Houghton and Tatar, Schaefer, Novoseltsev, Albrecht, Holmstrom, and Rudder. And everybody would be listed in their roles, as you can see, 2 top 2, 2 top 4, 2 top 6s, and 1 depth defenseman. So I think that's probably what we want to run with. I'd have technically only 2 right defensemen. That's one issue I have, though. Like, it might have to be the case, though, because Novoselicev and Schaefer, I'm not trading away Schaefer. Novoselicev is already ready to go, and I don't want to have him on a different pairing, potentially. So I think he should be okay to play on that second pairing. It just sucks that we don't have a guy that can play right side. Maybe I could actually ask Novoselicev if he's okay with learning right side as well. I think that's what I'll probably look to do. The good thing is, by bringing in Novoselicev and stuff like that, we kind of have like a mix of defensemen, no, because technically Houghton is an offensive defenseman, Tatar's a DFD, Schaefer's a two-way, Novoseltsev's a DFD, Albrecht's a DFD, and Holmstrom's an offensive defenseman. Maybe could use a bit more two ways in there, but I think that's fine. So yeah, our defensive core is looking pretty good for the season. It does suck that we have to trade away Osgood, and that Haken will have to start the year in the AHL, but I think for Haken's sake, playing in the AHL is a good thing. It'll get him some good growth. Osgood obviously being dealt away kind of sucks because we never gave this guy a shot, but there's just too much of a logjam that I don't think it makes sense to hold on to him. And also, he is a DFD as well, so it just would be too many DFDs basically competing for the same spot. And Novoseltsev is kind of younger, and he's better already, too. He's not a right D-man, but he's still better. From an offensive standpoint, let's see what we got here. Ellington, Nielakainen, and Sundin. So obviously, this is a little bit weak having for a right wing pool, but a lot of these guys aren't just going to be playing right wing. There's going to be some guys playing right wing that are centers. So I don't think Ellington would be actually in the lineup. Potentially he could be, but I'm not too sure. Sundin also, maybe both those guys are in the lineup. Nielakainen definitely would be in the lineup, but it's not too bad. AHL, Ulanov is kind of getting close, despite being a little bit of a late bloomer. He does still have that elite potential, so maybe he cracks the lineup some point this season. Kadri, Rokan, yeah, that's fine. Left wing side of things, we got Frondell, Crane, Sealfido, Bigris. Bigris actually is listed as a fourth line. Sealfido, Crane, and Frondell are all listed as first line forwards. So those guys need to be in the top six for sure. Sealfido definitely will be on the right wing side of things because that's a big weakness. Centers, actually, let's take a look at the left wings in the AHL. Ragnarsson is a depth forward. Ragnarsson honestly could play on our team this season instead of, what's his name, Sundin potentially. We do still have, let's see, 2 more roster spots open, so whoever we call up would be depth forwards, basically, right now. There's a chance Ragnarsson could get in. And in centers, I don't really want Prince up here. So I am going to send down Prince. I mean, Prince could be used as a depth option, maybe. Koroluk needs to be up here because he was up here last season. So these guys would all be in the lineup. Those guys would be all in the lineup. And then these guys, probably at least Nielakainen would be in the lineup. Sundin's how old at this point? 24. Yeah, he's kind of at that make or break point. So he does actually have 5-star defense almost, but that's because of his awareness. Huh. Ellington, on the other hand, is 25, and he's more of an offensive player. He's actually got very good passing, so... we need 2 depth forwards, basically, I think, and that's all we need to call up. Do we have enough? Yeah, we have a depth defenseman, so we just need 2 depth forwards. Which right now would probably be Prince. Ragnarsson probably should be up here, to be honest, but I don't really know if I want to use him. Prince is listed as a minor checking forward, though, which is quite low for a guy to be a depth forward in the NHL, so I feel like we might actually need to sign 2 depth forwards. And then we could just let these guys play in the AHL. Like, I think Ragnarsson getting 1 year in the AHL is fine as well. Because this is his first season. Like, he's never played in North America yet so far. So, giving him 1 year in the AHL as a depth forward, I think that's an okay thing. So, I think we're going to sign ourselves 2 depth forwards as well. Because we do have the cap space. There should be still some, like, 78, 79s available, my guess. And then we will probably... look to trade away Osgood, of course. So let's just go best NHL lines. We aren't going to set up the lines just yet because we do need to bring in those depth forwards. So let's go ahead and do that before we start editing our lines and all that. So let's see. Let's go to free agents and see what we got for depth forwards. What do we got? So yeah, there is some 78. So this is pretty much exactly what I want. Is just a guy that's listed as a depth forward. Like there's 3 guys actually listed as depth forwards. Hagos could play center. Is he actually good on faceoffs? No, he's not. I prefer to have one guy that can win faceoffs and one guy that doesn't. The best available is Malden, who is 77 overall. He's actually got very good defensive awareness and stick checking. I like that actually a lot. Yeah, Anthony Malden as a depth forward I think is a perfect option just because he's good defensively. How was his faceoffs though? 74. It's not the best faceoffs for a two-way, but I think I do want to take him in just because of his defensive stats. So we'll bring him in, and then we will go over to left wing or right wing. Doesn't really matter. Let's go with right wing just because right wing is a bit harder to find. Jarvis is 27. Let's take a look at his stats here. He's also a two-way forward, good defensive awareness. You know what? Since he's got good defensive awareness, I feel like I want players with good defensive awareness. We'll bring him in as well. Probably not the flashiest depth options, but I think that'll help us out a bit with the injuries just to help out with that defensive play and maintaining it. So now that we have done that, we will go to roster moves here. Actually, let's go to edit lines here. And we will do some roster moves and get this set up, and it will make the trade with Osgood, that type of thing. But I think we're almost ready to start simulating, which is exciting. Like I said, we'll also try and see if Novoseltsev is okay with trying to learn right defense. So we will call up Jarvis and Malden as our depth options. That way everybody in the AHL could still play. Ragnarsson's going to be the best forward in the AHL. Haken's going to be the best defenseman, and they're two of our best prospects. So I like that. And then obviously trading away Osgood kind of sucks, like I said, but he is, I think, a pending UFA at the end of this year as well. So I think it makes sense to move on from him, even though he's got good defensive stats too. But we'll do that. And let's set up these lines, see what we're working with. Hopefully we have everybody in a pretty good spot here. So, ooh, that's actually kind of an interesting setup that the coach wants in best lines. I don't mind that actually for the top six. I was thinking of obviously having Bjorkstrand back as the right winger, but using Bjorkstrand as a center again is not a bad option because he does have quick draw. So we would be basically doing Frundell, Mackin, Giordano, Cialfito, Bjorkstrand, Crane. I don't mind that. I really hope everybody's okay with their ice time up there too. And obviously they all fit this current coach because we scheme fitted them. Except for Mackinnon. That's pretty good. It's pretty good. Third line has Bigris on it with Korliuk and Nielikainen. That's actually not too bad either, but I'm going to move Leahy into that position instead. Korliuk can play with Sundin and Ellington. Ellington is technically a right winger. He should probably be high upper in the lineup, but he is a depth forward, so he's probably actually lower than an 80, my guess. So yeah, I don't mind this lineup setup. Who's scratched at the moment? Malden and Jarvis is good. Albrecht should not be scratched, though. We need to take Rudder out of the lineup. I know he's a right defenseman and all, but he needs to be out of the lineup, basically. So we'll do this. We will put Albrecht into this position. Perfect. Not the craziest chemistry on the defensive core, but it's still good. Obviously, Holmstrom should probably be getting into the top four at some point. He will be probably getting power play time. He's kind of in the same role as what Kasivi was like last season, so I think that's fine. Goaltenders is fine. Let's go to the power play and see what we're working with. So Mackinnon, Crane, Frundell, Houghton, and Giordano. Solid first unit. Second unit has Bjorkstrand, Nielikainen, Cialfito, Holmstrom, and Korliuk. I don't know about Nielikainen and Korliuk getting power play time, to be honest. Leahy needs to be on the power play for sure. Yeah, Leahy needs to be on that second unit. I don't know why he's not right now. So move Holmstrom to the right, or not Holmstrom, Nielikainen, or not Bjorkstrand. Goddamn, I can barely even speak of all these guys, but we will take Nielikainen out and give Leahy some power play time, because Leahy should be on the power play. Anybody else that should be on the power play? Bigris, maybe? Is Bigris an offensive guy, though? I don't think so. Oh, he is. He's a power forward. How good is his shooting? 3 stars. We'll give him a chance maybe on the power play. I could do it to Ellington, too, but I think we'll give it to the power forward instead. So we will give Bigris some power play time, too, just to help him develop, maybe. Nice. Yeah, that's actually not a bad second unit. I think our power plays look pretty good. Let's double check on this one, too. That looks good. Korliuk should probably not be on this unit at all. We will definitely re-put in... Let's put Tatar on this unit just to make it 2 defensemen on 4-on-4 instead. I just don't want to risk for too many goals against on the 4-on-4. Penalty kill, let's see what we got here. Crane and Frundell, Tatar, Novoseltsev. I like it. Bjorkstrand, Mackinnon. This is looking really nice. The chemistry is also still very good, too. I think everything's good. Maybe we should have Schaefer on a power play, but I don't know. Schaefer's a two-way, right? So Schaefer maybe on the power play instead would be good on that second unit. But do we need 2 defensemen on this unit? I'm not too sure. Maybe later in the season we'll adjust that and take Bigger off if he's not doing well. But I want to give a chance to the kid, so we'll do that. Okay, I think everything's good. Hopefully everybody's okay with their ice time. And then in the AHL, we are just going to go best lines for a second here. Make sure somebody is not scratched that shouldn't be. Nikulin is a low 7th, not even my prospect. Same with the Root 2. The only one to scratch is Lane, as it should be. It just Schultz and Vishnevsky in net. I like it. Perfect. Okay, let's make that trade, though, because we do need to get rid of Osgood. So that's going to reach into our defensive prospects a little bit. So let's just demote Osgood down to that top 6 pairing because we are going to be flipping him here before the season starts. So, and yeah, that's the only player we have to trade away, basically. So let's get into doing that. It does suck that I have to trade him before he debuts here. He's probably going to be a pretty solid shutdown defenseman, but there's just too much of a log jam. And we do have other right defensemen that could eventually replace him probably too. So we got to go down this list. Osgood has not a lot of value, so I don't really expect to get too much for him, unfortunately. But let's just do an open block. A lot of offers, 47 different offers. Is there one that just involves picks? A 4th round pick might be okay. Is there anything higher than a 4th? There is some prospects that I'm getting offered, which is interesting, but medium 9s like J. Paul, which is probably Jake Paul or something like that. I'm joking. 2 7th rounders. 4th, a 3rd in Buzek is a low 9. I don't really need a low 9. 3rd round pick and a low 9 again. A 3rd round pick straight up from Philly. So far, that's the best option. A 3rd rounder from Colorado, basically, because it's from Nashville, but was with Colorado. Colorado's a good team, though. So that's probably a late 3rd rounder. Montreal, a 3rd in Setaguchi. 3rd in Bordeaux from the Kings. A lot more offers than I thought there would be. 7th rounder. Michael Misa straight up. That's actually kind of insane. Michael Misa as a depth forward option would also be nice kind of for this team. But I don't really know if it's something I really want. Anything else? 3rd Shea, 4th rounder. I guess a 3rd rounder is probably the best bet for us to take for value. So I'm just going to take a 3rd rounder from not Philadelphia. Maybe Philadelphia. Philadelphia didn't win the cup last year, but they won it a couple years ago, didn't they? Or was that... No, that was my drafted glory, I think, that they did. You know what? Osgood could go play with Kasivi in Philadelphia, because I think Kasivi should be still there. So let's send Osgood to Philly. Boom. And that deal is done. Not a lot of... Actually, players on the NHL roster lost morale because of that trade, which is kind of insane. But that is kind of weird because Osgood's never played an NHL game. Anyways, let's get back to the AHL here. Go back to defense. Go back to this top 6 pairing. We'll just throw in one of those filler players that the AI signed me, which is going to be Rutu, I guess. And that should be good here. Extra lines. Let's see. Extra attacker. We will go with Haken and Ragnarsson instead. Get these guys as much growth, hopefully, as possible. Shootout. We'll give Haken a chance in the shootout, too. Nice. Perfect. All right, so the AHL is set up, the NHL is set up, everything's good there. The last few things we need to do before we actually start simulating, ask Novoseltsev if he's okay with playing right D. He is up to an 82 overall as well now, so he's overall dropped from the 83 after that trade, but he is still a top 4 defenseman, so that's fine. Aside from that, Korolyuk dropped to a 78, Sundin's a 78, but those guys should grow with a little bit of playing time this season, so... Hopefully that works out a little bit. Alright, so let's see. Let's go to our players here. And we got to talk to Novoseltsev. Can I already ask him about trying out right D? Let's see. Yes, I can. Position. Let's see. Are you okay with playing right defense? It says it's risky. It's not outright changing positions. Apparently, it's very convincing just to change him fully out of lefty, but I would prefer him to play both sides if he can. Let's try and see. We could ask him later in the season, too. I don't think that's the best idea for my game as a whole. Trust me, I'm better off staying in my current position. Okay, well, we'll ask you again at some other point, but that kind of sucks that he just wants to stick on lefty for the time being. All right, aside from that, what was the other thing I needed to do? Oh, yeah, take a look at where our former players signed, because that's another big thing. Because we don't know where any of those guys signed, like Erickson, Hainsey. Who else did I let go of in the offseason? I guess some of the other players I just traded away, basically. So the other players we don't really care to look up. But let's go to player search. Find out where Erickson and Hainsey signed. Because I think those were the big two we let go of, right? If I remember right. Hopefully I'm not forgetting anybody. But if I am, we could always check next episode. So Erickson signed with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Of course, he signs in the division. Now, the thing with Pittsburgh is they're not, I think, a good team at this point. I believe they just had the first overall selection. So he's going to be a big piece of that team. Like, he's probably a first liner on that team. 86 at 27, modified no trade clause. $10 million. Damn. They paid him a lot of money. I didn't expect him to get over $10 million at all, but good on him. 6-year deal there. He is a pretty solid player and will be a part of that rebuild, I guess, for them. So he's wearing number 22 over there. All right. Shout out to Matthias Eriksson. There's his contract. So he is now in Pittsburgh. So he's staying in our division, which kind of sucks. But like I said, Pittsburgh's not been good. So at least we shouldn't have to see him in the playoffs at any point soon. And lastly, where did Hainsey sign? Our former backup goaltender that could be a starter somewhere else. Hopefully he's actually getting a starting job on some team. So Hainsey is going to be signed with not the LA Kings, because that's a forward, Toronto Maple Leafs. So he decided to join the team that beat us. And the crazy thing is, the Leafs also signed that goaltender we were trying to sign in free agency too. So the Leafs brought in a couple goalies. Hainsey will be maybe their starting goaltender. Doesn't have a clause. He got a 2-year deal at $2.885. So a nice little bargain deal there for the Leafs to see if they could turn Hainsey into a really good starter. But, of course, he joins the team that literally just went to the Stanley Cup Finals. So, hopefully we don't have to run into Hainsey as well. He's joining actually Jaskalainen and Michelli on that team too. So, Toronto likes to pick up our former players, apparently. Alright, so I think that's all we need to take a look at before we actually get to starting simulating, which is exciting. So, let's go to the calendar and sim through the preseason. We'll maybe simulate till December or January 1st. Maybe I'll simulate half of the season. Still really depends on how fast this goes. But this team should be good this season. So let's see what our coach has to say about our roster here. First and foremost, though, preseason focus. We are going to just put this to 5v5 focused. Perfect. So season goal, what do you think, Jalen? What do you think of our roster? Good enough to compete for the cup. I agree. I think this team definitely can make it back to a finals again. Hopefully actually winning the Stanley Cup, because obviously we've lost 3 Stanley Cup finals, I think, in a series at this point. So this team has had a string of bad luck here. So let's actually edit our trading block here again, just because I'm not trying to trade away any of my prospects at the moment. I'm still holding on to them, hoping that I don't have to trade them, but some of them might have to get traded to upgrade team players on our team. But right now we want to keep everything kind of intact and just see how this team is going to do. Like I said, this team is maybe going to be a bit worse off defensively just because we moved out from Boyd, but I think obviously having the growth of Novoselicev, all that stuff, I think that's going to help things. And literally we have a defenseman listed in each role quite well. Like the top 2 are actually listed as top 2. The top 4 are listed as top 4s. The top 6s are top 6s. And then obviously the depth defenseman shouldn't complain because he's literally an enforcer. So we'll see if he gets in the lineup at any point and punches some faces, but I really like the looks of this team right now, so we'll just obviously have to see how it actually simulates on paper. I should actually take a look at the team fit with our current coach and make sure he's the right guy, but I know that he was a really good fit for us last season. We could always do some more scheme fitting if you guys want in next episode too. So maybe I won't simulate too much, but 5-1-1 in the preseason, pretty good. Pretty good. But yeah, if you guys want me to do more scheme fitting with any of the players, I will show you guys who's not really working right now with this team and what we could probably scheme fit. But let's take a look at our coach here. and see how good of a fit he is. Last year he was like a 70 something, I believe. It was like 75 or some shit. Yeah, 73 still, so still a very good fit for this team. We can make him even better, of course. So yeah, he's definitely going to still be our head coach this upcoming season. But if we go to edit lines here, I'll show you guys the run through of basically everybody's fit on this team here. And you guys could let me know if there's anybody you would try and scheme fit. Mackinnon, I think, is definitely one we should try and scheme fit because he's a long haul guy on this top 6. I think he's definitely somebody we need to look into. Giordano, scheme fitting him for the top 6 might not be a bad idea, or the first line more so. Second line, Bjorkstrand needs to fit that line better, but that's pretty much it. Third line, we could always scheme fit some of these younger guys like Bigris. Leahy probably is one that I wouldn't mind scheme fitting because obviously Leahy, I think, is still in our long-time picture a bit. Nielakainen could get scheme fit, but he's also in the last year of his contract. Fourth line could get scheme fit, but a lot of these guys might just be here for a season or so. And then from a defensive standpoint, our top 2 pairing works fine. Our second pairing, Novoselicev probably should get scheme fit for sure. Schaefer probably as well. And then on this top 6, Albrecht's already fitting well. And Holmstrom probably definitely does too. But Holmstrom could be in that top 4 very soon too. Which, if he gets into that top 4, I don't know which defenseman I move away. But that's a question for another time. So basically that is something we could look into, is scheme fitting a couple of those younger options that we recently brought in. All right, should be interesting to see how the season is. Let's actually take a look at the preseason stats just to see how the young guys fit in. Because obviously our bottom 6, I think, is the one area I'm a little bit worried on. But I think we have a very good top 6 that it shouldn't matter too much. Ellington had 3 assists in 7 games. That's pretty good for the lack of ice time. He also only had 2 shots on goal in the 7 games, so maybe he's not a big-time shooter. Biggers had 2 goals. Sundin had 2 goals. So it looks like a couple of young guys actually did relatively well this preseason. And then from a defensive standpoint, let's see the defenders. Howden was fantastic. Novoselicev picked up a goal. Holmstrom also picked up a goal. Albrecht had no points. Yeah, that's not too bad. I'll take it. Hatcher was actually pretty good in his one preseason game too. So we'll see what JC Hatcher could do. Obviously, upgrading that backup spot could be something we look into. But we don't necessarily have to do that. So let's similar to the start of the regular season. We have our lineup set up. Let's get into some simulation. I've already been recording for like 40-something minutes, but I've had to clear my throat so many times. So I think we might be able to at least get to around January the 1st in this episode, but it depends on how this team simulates, if there's a ton of injuries as well. So let's go to October 31st and see what we do in our first month of action. Jackson Smith is on waivers, probably not used, and not somebody I need to claim. Listed as a top 6 defenseman, that's not something I need. We don't need somebody that's going to be complaining about ice time, basically. Alright, that was not an actual injury. Our first 2 games were good defensive games, so I like to see that. That's also a good defensive game, even though it's a loss. So, it seems like the young defenders are working well to start off the season. Bob 11 EHL has been injured. He's not anything really at all in this point. Let's just go replace player. Game against Anaheim. 2-1 loss, so another good defensive game. That's a tough game against the Sharks there. But we do respond with a good win over the Canucks. And game against Nashville is a good win too. So 5-3 in our first 8 games, not insane. But we are currently in first place in our division. So maybe the Metropolitan Division is going to be weak this season, but it is quite tight throughout the first little bit of the season. There's literally only 4 points separating us in last place. So obviously it's going to be tight at the beginning. Eventually we'll start to run away with it, or some other team will. But let's go another month and see what we can do in this month. Hopefully it's a bit better of a month. Game against the Rangers, 2-1 win. Yeah, we've had some pretty strong defensive efforts, it looks like to me. Let's go best lines in the AHL. I think that's an okay thing for us to do, because we didn't even address the AHL lines too much. Game against Ottawa, back-to-back losses, not ideal. Pittsburgh's a 4-1 win. Chicago's a loss. Kind of having a little bit of a streaky time to start off the year, but we don't necessarily need to run away with the President's Trophy either, so I'm kind of okay with it. Game against Montreal is another loss. Buffalo is another loss. Jeez, yeah, we are quite inconsistent here, as Sundin has been injured with an upper body injury, so that's one of the younger guys out till December the 3rd. Let's just go replace player. Pittsburgh's an overtime win. Carolina's a 6-3 win. Yeah, it seems like we go on like a 2-game winning streak and then we end up losing like 2 in a row. But there's a 4-game winning streak to end off the month, 14-8. That's not too bad. That's not too bad. It's not been the craziest season so far, but like I said, you don't need to have a crazy season. Now, we have played some of the most games in our division, but we are still first place. So, Blue Jackets do have 3 games in hand on us, though, and they're the one team behind us. That's not too far off, I guess. All right, let's go one more month of simulation and just see what we're like at January 1st. I think January 1st is probably where I'll go up to. If we have a really dominant month, though, maybe I'll still just go to the exact halfway point of the season again. Because I do want to kind of go through these seasons a little bit quicker now that our team's actually good. So let's put Sundin back in. Jarvis was just in. Hopefully Jarvis did well as a depth option. But we'll take him out. And we'll get the youngster Sundin back in here on that 4th line. Perfect. All right, let me actually stop the sim because for some reason that jumped to February. I don't know why that calendar thing is still an issue. Let's see what we got here. Loss and a win. Carolina. Prince was never injured in the AHL. 4-3 win. Calgary is a 6-3 win. Okay, yeah, now we're definitely starting to find our game quite a bit here. So it took a little bit longer than normal, but we are starting to play better. Now there's back-to-back losses after I said that. 3 straight losses. Okay, maybe I should just not talk here about that. 4 straight losses. Oh, boy. And Koroliuk has been injured with an upper body injury. Let's go replace player on that, but another 4th line injury. We are losing a lot of games in regulation because we aren't going to overtime quite often here to start off the year. It seems like we have literally no overtime losses at this point. We're 22-13, which is very strange. Like I said, it's not the most insane season so far, but the top 3 teams in our division have already made up quite a big ground because we're already 11 points up on a team that would be fighting for a wild card spot. But we're also kind of close to being a wild card team too, but we're just lucky that the top 3 spots in the division are quite up on that 4th spot. So we played 35 games. You know what? We'll go 6 more games, so we're exactly halfway points. So this would be 4. That would be 6. So let's go through these last few games. We'll take a look at some stats here. Next episode, maybe we'll do some adjustments. But strained hamstring to Ulf Sundin. So Ulf Sundin gets injured again. So that 4th line's been battered up a couple times. Just not ideal. 3 straight losses to start off the month. Oh boy, maybe I shouldn't have simulated the exact halfway point of the season as Sundin is back. Definitely seems like there's still some sort of an issue with the team right now, but I don't really know what it is until we actually look at the stats. So we'll see if there's any underlying issues. We could definitely upgrade this bottom 6 in a little bit if we want. That's probably why we're not doing as well as last year. Let's see. 2 more games left. Jeez, there's so many injuries in the AHL too. Tampa is a win. Koroliuk is back as well, so our 4th line is nice and healthy. So we'll take Malden back out. But yeah, I think it's just because we have a weaker bottom 6 than past years, maybe why we're simulating like this. Also because the defensive core isn't as strong yet, but it could be strong enough soon if players get some growth. I can't even see what's happening. There you go. Okay, so 23-17-1. We just started off this month on a terrible note, though. We have 5 losses in our first 6 games of the month, so that's not ideal. We fell from 1st place all the way to 3rd place. Now, we are still 8 points up on the Caps, though, so we are still in a playoff spot, but we definitely are starting to risk, obviously, other teams catching up to us at the halfway point. We only have the 1 extra frame loss at this point, so it's been it's either we win in regulation, win in overtime, or we lose, basically. It's not any overtime losses, so, we need to find ways to get at least 1 point in games. We can't be getting no points, so that's probably the difference right now. At least we still have a lot of season to go, so anything could change, but let's take a look at some stats and see what is going on right now with this team. So if we look at individual stuff, we are 16th in goals for, so our offense isn't doing super well this year. We're 20th in goals against somehow. What the hell, man? 17th in the power play percentage and 16th on the penalty kill. There's nothing going good for this team right now. We're actually allowing more than we're scoring. And our special teams aren't good right now. So that's kind of strange. I'm not too sure what to make of that because we definitely should be simulating better. Is there anybody that's like dropping off due to morale? I don't think so. Maybe it's just because our bottom 6 is way different. Maybe I should rework these lines a bit and go to something like this instead. I don't really know. That could be definitely something we do in next episode. For now, I think I'll obviously just keep it the same. But we could definitely rework this a bit, scheme fit this team a bit. That'll help with the record probably. It could be just the inexperience of guys on the defensive core, my guess. But we'll take a look at some stats here and see what's going on. Because from those team stats perspective, I don't really like any of those stats. But it could be actually better than anticipated. So, wow, Houghton's leading the team in points right now. Okay, that's not necessarily a great thing. Let's go by forwards to start off with. Actually, let's go by each position. So Giordano's got 32 points, which is pretty solid. -3, not ideal, but still 32 points. A little bit of a regression, though, from last year. Mäkinen on 31 points, -9. I don't like the -9. Bjorkstrand, 28 points only. Maybe I should be reworking that top 6 a bit. Leahy almost has as much points as Bjorkstrand does. A lot of these guys have clauses that kick in too, so we probably need to rework the lines in the top 6 a bit. That's probably one thing I'd see. Koryuk's on 8 points, which isn't too bad. Malden's on no points in 8 games, that's fine. Koryuk is definitely going to do better than last year, I feel like, at this rate, though. Because last year he had only to 10 points, so that's interesting. Left wing side of things, Crane on 34, 19 goals. Did Crane cash out? He's getting a very big contract. And he's not doing the most insane, so kind of a little bit worried with some of the contracts I gave out. But maybe this team will just turn it on in the postseason. Ciofito on 34 points. Pretty solid. What's his contract looking like again? Ooh, only 2 more years left. He's going to be an expensive guy. He's going to be expensive. Frondell's only on 27 points. Anton, my man, you're 31 years old now, too. What is his contract looking like again? No clause. Oh, yeah, I forgot that he was the player that doesn't have a clause on our team. Well, I don't know about this season, but soon Anton Frondell could be on the chopping block. Because he's not producing as well this season. He was very good a few years ago, though. So, kind of a huge regression. 111 down to 89. And this year, he's only on pace for 54 points. I'm not too sure on that. Biggers on 17 points. Pretty good for his ice time. Right wing side of things, Neil Kine on 14 points. Ellington 12. Sundin 8. Jarvis nothing. So, yeah, I definitely think it's because of the inexperience in our bottom 6. Because we do have some okay depth scoring in the top 6. Might need to be reworked, like I said, like Bjorkstrand goes to the top line instead. Giordano goes back down to the second line. But the bottom 6 isn't scoring as much as it used to. But that might be an okay thing. And then, like, if you look at the plus minuses, despite us not being a super crazy good defensive team, there is some guys with some bad plus minus, but it's not the worst plus minus either. Like, it's fixable. And from a defensive standpoint, Houghton's been fantastic. Like, he's leading the team in points right now, which is kind of insane. And he's on pace for another very good year. He's on pace for 74 points, I guess, again this year. Just like last year. So maybe he could find a way to win another Norris Trophy, but his plus-minus might be affected because of his team's defensive stats. Tatar on 19 points. Holmstrom on 12 points so far. All right. No power play points for him, but Holmstrom's having an okay start to his career. Doing basically like what Kasivi was doing last year for us. He's already listed now as a top 4. God damn it, man. Why is he already listed as a top 4? He literally has only played 41 games. And he's not losing morale because of ice time yet. But he might soon. Jeez, man. Because how the heck am I supposed to get him into the top 4? Now, that Schaefer and Novoselicev pairing is not working whatsoever. That top 4 pairing. Those guys have been atrocious defensively. Everybody else has been good. So, I don't know what to do about that. Because Novoselicev is in his first season. So, he's a nice, promising young defender. But Schaefer has been pretty bad this year. And he's not that bad. Yeah, normally his plus-minus stats are really good. And he normally picks up a good chunk of points. So, I don't know if Novoselicev is making him worse or what. But, yeah, he's having a bit of a tough time this year. He's on a good contract. Because if I want to get Holmstrom into that top 4, I would have to move out Novoselicev or Schaefer. And I don't know about moving Schaefer. Novoseltsov is in his first season. Maybe I should have held on to Osgood instead of Novoseltsov then. But Novoseltsov, like I said, like he wasn't listed as a depth defenseman, so it made sense to move on from Osgood. But now that, and I'm second guessing it because of the plus minus. Huh. I mean, that could get reworked a little bit, that defense core. Maybe we move Novoseltsov down to the top 6. Holmstrom gets that top 4 time. And then Novoseltsov should be okay with his ice time because he's getting penalty kill time too. I would hope. Yeah, that might be something we look to, is getting Holmstrom playing with Schaefer. But that is an offensive defenseman playing next to a two-way, so it's a bit risky. Schaefer's also been more aggressive this year than prior years, which is kind of strange. He's on pace for 26 penalty minutes this year. And he's already had a fight, I think, too, because 13 penalty minutes isn't normal. Yeah, he's already had a fight this season, too. So Schaefer's kind of playing not like himself, which is very strange. From a goaltending perspective, Solovyov is still on a 903. He's been very good, but Hatcher has been abysmal as a backup. These backup goalies are really tough to tell on, man, because he might be having a bad season right now, but maybe playoff, he's a really good goaltender in simulation, but we might need to find ourselves a new backup still. I think we probably should, because so far JC Hatcher just can't stop a beach ball. Solovyov has a very good winning record, so if we find a better backup goaltender, we might win more games too. Like, if we look at Hatcher's game-by-game stats, he hasn't played a ton this season. But his games that he has played, if we go down here... Actually, he's come in relief a couple times. When he's coming in relief, I guess he's played good. Wait, am I seeing Solovyov stats right now? I feel like I'm seeing Solovyov stats right now for no reason. Is that glitched out? Oh, there we go. Yeah, it was glitched out. We were looking at Solovyov stats. I was confused. Hatcher, like, his first game of the season, he was pretty good. He played actually game 1 of the season for us. Posted in 931. Actually, no, that's his first game of the season, not game number 1 for us. But he was good in his first game with us. But then afterwards, in 833, allowed 6 goals. Then he allowed 5 goals, 7 goals, 4 goals. Then he had a good game. And then he allowed 1 goal, but he only played 31 minutes. Then he played bad again. But he allowed over 5 goals 3 times. 5+ goals 3 times. That's not good enough. That is definitely not good enough. Meanwhile, Solovyov has given us more of a consistent effort here. Why is this glitching out, man? Lagging. This is crazy. But yeah, you look at Solovyov. He's had some bad games too. Damn. Yeah, he's had some really rough games, like January 1st against the Kraken. But he's also had some really strong games too earlier in the season. But he's definitely still struggling too. Alright. So there definitely is some underlying issues with this team. We're not scoring enough. We're playing a little bit bad defensively on some pairings. And then the goaltending hasn't been super crazy either. But I feel like the depth scoring's okay, because we have already 5 guys on 10+ goals. But Nielakainen being one of them is not what I had in mind, though. For sure. So I think reworking the lineup, maybe making some adjustments could be a thing. I'm not too sure about making trades, but I think what I would do basically is rework this top 6. So I'm going to already adjust it right now. And you guys could tell me if you think this is a good idea in between episodes, I guess. We run this as our top 6 instead. Our bottom 6... Ellington was good, right? 12 points. Bigris was good, though, too, and he's getting power play time. Yeah, I think that's okay with the bottom 6. Defensively, I reworked this to basically move Holmstrom up to play with Schaefer. Novoseltsov plays with Albrecht instead. Then we get a +2 on that top 6 pairing. And then the goaltending, obviously, we might trade away Hatcher. Find a new backup goaltender. Something like that. Rutter's actually a 78 now. Why is Rutter getting such good growth? He's listed as a top 6. Maybe that's actually a good thing, though. Because maybe that makes us make a trade so we can get him in. But he is an enforcer, so I don't know if I really want him in the lineup. So, interesting. But yeah, I think that's what I would run with for our lineup instead. Rework it so it's basically our old top line again. And then the second line is a little bit reworked. And basically everybody should be a little bit more better in terms of where they fit. Yeah, I guess Bjorkstrand's a good fit for the top line because we scheme fitted him last year. So Maybe we try this to start off next episode and see how it works, but we probably will simulate the rest of the season in the next episode as well. How's the AHL doing out of curiosity? Oh my goodness. Well, Ragnarsson is already a second-line forward. Oh my goodness, this team has so many players I need to move out randomly. Ragnarsson definitely needs a call-up in next episode. Which means, I guess I'd probably send down Sundin. And I'd move Ellington over here. Biggers goes down to the fourth line. And we basically take Sundin out of the lineup. But the thing is, Ragnarsson might complain about ice time. Because he's a second line forward. But we can put him on the power play easily. No question about that. Take Biggers off the power play. Holy crap, man. How did that even happen? I know he's a low elite. But that's the most insane amount of growth I've seen in 41 games. And then from a defensive standpoint, obviously Haken's kind of close. Haken could also be in our blue line this season if we really wanted to get rid of a defenseman on that top six pairing. Hagen's not been good defensively this year, but the AHL team must be struggling. Vishnevsky and Schulz. Schulz has been bad. Vishnevsky's been better. I'm already going to call up Ragnarsson because that is quite insane. I know this episode's over an hour and some of you guys might not be able to watch all of it, but we got to already make an adjustment here. Ragnarsson also can play right wing, which is fantastic too. So we will send down, I think it was Sundin I said? Yeah, it was Sundin. Yeah, we call up, send down Sundin. Ragnarsson comes up. Sundin does clear waivers because he doesn't have much potential at this point. Damn, I was not expecting that. That's a great way to end off this episode too. So we'll take Ragnarsson. He's actually an 83, but still, that's pretty good. He's actually a pretty good fit for that third line, too. Like that a lot. And we'll go to power play. Give him some power play time instead of Biggers. We'll give him some penalty kill time. Alright, well, at least that's a positive thing for the start of next episode. But since our left wing pull is so strong, Frundell could be on the chopping block really soon. Not this season necessarily, but soon enough he could be. I still think we need to maybe make a change on defense, though. Or goaltending-wise. Yeah, damn, this is such a strong team, man. Such a strong team, but it's not simulating one like one right now. Penalty kill, let me just make sure here. We'll take Biggers off this penalty kill as well. Sorry to Biggers, I know you had 17 points so far, but yeah, Ragnarsson kind of surprised us. I know he was a first-round lowly, too, but damn. Damn, man. Looking fantastic. This is exactly kind of what this team needs. It's a nice youth injection like that. So, perfect. All right. Let's go best lines in the AHL. Boom. Because we don't really care about where Sundin gets thrown in. All right. So, that's all. Wow. The AHL team is doing atrocious. How are they doing that bad? 8-24-3. They must have a really bad coaching fit. I probably should change the coach down there because that's not great for their growth. But anything else I need to do before I end this episode? I don't think so. We do maybe need a new backup goalie, like I said, but we could easily find one in the next episode. Aside from that, I might just keep the team the same. We're actually in a playoff spot still. We haven't been simulating the best, but maybe that gives us a higher chance to win the Stanley Cup this season rather than winning the President's Trophy. So anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of New York Islanders franchise mode. So in next episode, I think we'll simulate the rest of the season. We might make some adjustments. Like I said, we might find a new backup goaltender, but not too sure if I want to make any changes on the defensive core side of things. So that way we could get Rudder into the lineup because he should be listed as a top 6 defenseman right now. But him being an enforcer, I feel like being a scratch is probably for the better just so he doesn't take too many penalty minutes. So we could make some adjustments if you guys think it's necessary to the defensive core, but I definitely think the backup spot is maybe one area I'd like to address the most. We'll simulate the rest of the season, see where this team makes it in terms of the postseason, because I do think we will make it to the playoffs for sure. But obviously it's a little bit of a lackluster season in terms of regular season simulation compared to last year. So think down below, and I'll see you guys next time.